Students, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, 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 okay. Just give me 1 second because I switched to a new computer. I just do the setup and then start with the class. Okay, just a technical problem. Okay, we'll start with the meeting. So I'll share the screen. Okay. Okay. So we'll start with arrays, and then after arrays, I'll teach you briefly what are arrays, how to put values in an array, and then so I'll teach you what are arrays, and then after that I will start with structures. Okay. So can everyone see my screen? Do I need to increase the font size?
No, sir.
Okay. Okay. I think now it should be visible. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So basically, an array is nothing but a group of values that are stored together. Okay. So for example, I've declared one array here in the program, float. The array will be of the type float. The name of the array is balance. So how we know it's an array? Because after the name of the array, it is followed by a square brackets. So whenever a variable name is followed by square brackets, the compiler knows that it's an array. And whatever you mention, the number you mention inside the square brackets is the size of that array. So now this array will be stored in continuous memory locations. Okay, it will be stored something like this in your computer. Okay, now this will be your continuous memory locations. Since we have declared 5 memory locations in the array, your array indexing will always start with 0. Okay, 0, then it will go on 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Since we have declared 5, it will end at n minus 1. It will end at n minus 1 because we are starting the indexing at 0. Okay, that is the way your compiler, your C programming has been designed. Okay, we cannot change anything in that. So this will be your first array value will be stored here. Okay, so it will be stored at index 0. So if I want to refer to this location here, this location will be known with the name of the array. So the name of the array is balance. So I'll just write short form. Okay, so it will be balance, and the index of that array is 0. If I am referring to that this array location, it will be known as balance. You put the array square brackets, and inside that it will be 0 because I'm referring to the first location. Okay. Similarly, if I want to refer to the second location, what will be the second location referred to as? Can someone reply? It will be what? It will be balance. And what will be that is? Please don't type.
One.
Yeah, balance, and in square brackets it will be 1. So this will mean we are referring to the second location in your array. So like this we can refer to any individual array location. Okay. So if I want to refer to the last one, what will be the last one? It will be balance, and in square brackets it will be 4. Okay. So got the idea? So we can refer to individual array elements like that. Okay. Let me just rub this out. Now, floating point, assume that floating point takes 4 memory locations. Okay, assume that a variable of floating point takes 4 memory locations. It depends on the compiler type, but we'll assume that right now it takes 4. Suppose the array has been stored at index, this starts, it is stored at a memory address 100. Now by memory address we mean where it is stored in your computer. So suppose the first index, that is 0, your array is stored at 100. Then your index 1, the value of index 1 will be stored at 104. How I get 104? Because that array is of type floating. And what I told, floating point say it takes 4 bytes of memory. So 100 plus 4 will be 104. The next one, that is array index 2, you have to add plus 4. So at what location it will be stored? At what memory address it will be stored? It will be stored at 104 plus 4. So it will be 108. Are you getting what I'm telling? Similarly, the next array index, at what memory address it will be stored? 108 plus 4. So what it will be? 112. And the next memory address for the index 4 will be 112 plus 4. So it will be 116. So these are the memory addresses. Okay, these are the addresses for the array. It's not the values. We are not stored anything inside here. Inside the array we are not stored. What I have just told you is what is an array index and what are array addresses. Each variable is stored at some address in memory. Okay, so similarly, if you look here in your program here, I've declared 2 variables, int I and j. So your int variables normally occupy 2 bytes of memory. So your variable I will be stored at some location. So you can say maybe it is stored at say 98. Okay, then j will be stored at another location. So you can say if I is stored at 98, the memory address 98, j will be stored at, since this is int 98 plus 2, it will be 100. So you can say j will be stored at memory address 100. Okay, so this is the way your variables get stored in the memory address. If you are not getting this, it's okay, but you should know it as computer engineers. Right now, if you don't get it, it's fine. We don't need it for programming or anything as such for you. So indexing or addresses. Okay, so your array will be stored in continuous memory locations. Okay, so if the first one is stored at 100, the next one will be stored in the next continuous location. So next one will not be stored at 101. Why? It will not be stored at 101. Why? Because this is a floating point array. So it will be stored at 100 plus 4, because the floating point value takes 4 bytes of memory. So 100 plus 4, it will be stored at 104. Okay, and so on. I have already told you how it works out. Okay, just to make sure that you have got all this what I have just told you. Okay, suppose I make this as an int array. Suppose this array is an int array, and each int value suppose takes 2 bytes of memory. Okay, suppose each value takes 2 bytes of memory, and say this array is starting at 200. The array index is stored at 200. Index 1 will be stored at what value? Index 1 will be stored at what value?
202.
202, correct. Because I told you int will be, yes, I can see many of you are typing, but I am not seeing your chat. So it would be better if you could unmute and answer. Yes, 202 is correct. Okay, so that will be stored at 202. Index 2 will be stored at 202 plus 2. So it will be stored at 204. Okay. So I think you all have got it. So let's proceed. Now let's see how to give values to an array. Okay. So I'll just rub this thing and draw the array again. This is an array. Okay. Now there are different ways of assigning values. Okay. Automatically the addresses come. So I'm not writing the addresses. The moment you declare one array like this, the compiler, the computer takes care of assigning addresses. So we'll not bother about that. Okay. So there are different ways. There are first way of declaring an values for it is, suppose we have this array. Okay. We can directly declare like this. You need not put this statement here. You can directly, instead of putting this, I'll just comment it. You don't need to declare like this. You can directly declare that you will have a floating point array. The size of it will be 5, and then you assign the values. Since you are having 5, you assign the 5 values. That means in this first array index 0, this value will be stored 1000. Index 1, 2.0 will be stored, and index 2, 3.4, and so on. So the last index you will have 50.0. Okay. So one way of declaring values for an array is like this. So these are directly you can assign values. The other way of doing it, suppose you don't want to do it like this. Suppose you don't want to do it like this. You just declare the array like this. Suppose it's a floating point array. Okay. Then individually you assign values. So you say balance of 0 equal to 1000, put a semicolon. Then you say balance of 1, whatever value you want. So suppose you want 2.0. Okay. So when you do this, suppose you do like this, that means 1000 will get stored here. This will be 1000. This will be 2.0. Okay. 2.
So
Yes. Tell me.
So point zero is mandatory after every digit?
No, it's not mandatory. I'm just putting it just so that you understand it's a floating point. You need not put this. You can just put it as 2. You can just put it as 2. Yeah, you can just put it as 1000. It's like this also is fine. Okay. Yeah. So basically you understand. So I'm not going to type in all the values. So you can type in balance of 2 equal to something, balance of 3 equal, and you can continue all the way like this. Okay. But this is very tedious way of doing things. Suppose I had here 50 values. Suppose that the array size was 50. Then to type out all 50 values would be very difficult. Now it is 5. So okay, maybe I can still type out. I can just do something like this and it will be easy for me. I'll just do something like this. I'll say this will be the second one. This will be the third one. I'll just change some values here so that you understand. Okay. And that's it. The fifth one, maybe I may not initialize. Okay, I just leave it like that. So this is one way. This is one way of assigning values. The second way, here first way I had already shown you, but you can use only one of the methods at a time. Okay, you cannot combine all these methods. If you use this method, don't use this one. So you use any one, choose whichever one is convenient for you. I'm just showing you all. Okay, so I'll comment out these things now. You can later refer to the video and copy it out. These are all the different ways of doing the things. The third way of initializing is, this is the third way. I just make it float since we are calling float. I hope you know that double is a more precise version of float. Okay. So even if it's double, it means it's floating only. The other way of assigning values is declaring an array is, you don't mention the size of the array, you just leave it blank. So the advantage of that is, how many values you declare here, suppose you have declared 5 values, automatically the size of your array becomes 5. If I would declare here 6 values, then the size of the array would automatically become 6. So you don't have to bother about the size of this. The compiler will take care depending on how many values you have put. Okay, so you put 6 values here, or you put 10 values, automatically the size becomes 10. Okay, so right now we just keep it to 5. This is the third way of declaring a value. So this is the one way, this is the second way where you give the size. Third way is you don't give the size. But I'll show you the most convenient way that you should be doing, and that is what I have not commented. Okay, so the most convenient way of doing things. So I'll just close this thing again. Now we don't need that. The most convenient way of initializing an array is using for loops. This is the way we are going to initialize an array. So you should always try to do it like this. Advantage of this is, suppose you have declared an array of say size 500. Okay, so if you have to do like this method, you have to initialize 500 values like this. It would be very difficult. You can do it, it's not wrong. Okay, but it would have been very difficult. Maybe you have to sit whole night and do it, but you can do it. Okay, the other way is I would just use this for loop and do it. I would just do something like this. Now how this for loop works, I'll show you step by step. Okay, so here now what I'm going to teach you next is how for loop works. If you don't know how a for loop works, now I'm also going to teach you how that array gets filled with a for loop. Okay, display the same way of the input that we are going to say. So in this next line we are going to display the values in an array. Here we are taking input in the first for loop. The second for loop we are outputting. So output is the same way of the input. So I will not repeat it. So please pay attention. If you are having any doubt, you can always ask me. Okay. So I'll draw that array again. Remember now this is our balance array. Okay, so this is our balance array. I'll make it 5 again. So now see here how the for loop works. Now I hope you understand this printf statement, what it does. So I'm not going to say that. So basically now we are going to take input. I'm going to put values into this array. Okay, so for you not to get confused, I'll put the same values. Okay, I'll just put the same values. So 1002, 3.4, 7 and 50. We can put any values, but I'll just put the same values. So as you can see, I told you we start with always array index 0. So I start with my for loop with a variable set I equal to 0. This 0 is because my indexing starts at 0. Array index starts at 0. Then I want to stop taking input when I is less than 5. Why 5? Because my size of the array is 5. So if your size of the array was 500, you would have made here 500. Okay, so depending on whatever size you give, you put that many, that should be your value here. Okay, then we are having this increment I. Why we are having this increment I, I'll show you later. Okay, so right now I'll show you the working of the for loop along with taking input in the array. So how it works is, I start with this, I initialize I value, I will be equal to 0. Next, check for the condition, this condition, whether it is true. Is 0 less than 5? Yes, 0 is less than 5. So you go and take the input. Scanf means you are taking the input from the keyboard. So you will enter this some value. Okay, so you will enter some value. So let's say you enter the value 1000. Okay, so that will be stored in. Why it will get stored here in index 0? Because your I value here, I gets replaced with this. So I becomes, I value is replaced with 0, 0. So balance of 0 means which location? Means this array location. So whatever you enter will go where? Here. Okay, getting it? Any doubts? Anyone has any doubts why 1000 is going here? Okay, I think no one is asking questions, so you are understanding. Okay. Then after you have stored the value, the next step is to increment the value of I. So I value will become now 1. Previously it was 0, now it will become 1. So 1 means you are now here at this place, 1. Okay, 1. So I value is now 1. Check the condition here. Is 1 less than 5? Yes, 1 is less than 5. Takes the next input. So next input, balance of I. What is I value? I value is 1. So you are going to store the next value in balance of 1. So balance of 1 means you are going to store the next value here. Okay. The next value I told you that we are entering is 2. So suppose we are entering 2. Okay. Then after you have entered the value, again increment I. So I will become 2. So check the condition now. Is 2 less than 5? Yes, 2 is less than 5. Next input will be stored where? In balance of 2. So in balance of 2. Next input that we will store is 3.4. So now what will be the next thing that we'll do? Can someone tell me? What is the next thing after you have stored the input? What is the next thing? What we do? After you have stored the value, what we do next in the for loop? We have stored the value. So now what we do? Increment I. So when you increment I, what you will get? I will become 3. Okay. So after I becomes 3, check for the condition here. This condition, is it true? Is 3 less than 5? Yes, 3 is less than 5. So take the next input. So next input when you take, where you will be store? In balance of I. I you replace with 3. You replace I with 3. So balance of 3. So which is balance of 3? This balance of 3. So your next value will be stored here. That value that we are storing is 7. Okay. Then what you do? Just rub this. After you have stored the value, what is the next step? Increment I. So when you increment I, it will become 4. Okay, it will become 4. Check the condition. 4 less than 5? Yes. Take the input. Where you are going to store now? In balance of 4. What is balance of 4? Means this index here, balance of 4. We are going to store the value here. What is the value we are going to store? 50. Okay, it's not done. Increment I. So I will become now, I will become 5. Okay, check the condition. Is 5 less than 5? No, 5 is not less than 5. So you will now not take any more input. Why? Because 5 is not less than 5. You stop with the input. And as you can see, our array has been built. So understood? This is how your for loop is used to enter values into an array. Any questions? Any questions? Any doubts? Anyone has any questions? Please don't type because I'm not looking at your chat box. You have to unmute and ask. Any questions? Okay. So it looks like you have understood. Yes? Okay. So when you're outputting, now you can look here, it is the same thing. Instead of scanf, I am having printf. So it will start printing from, again you can see we are starting from index 0. So when you start from index 0, you start printing the first value at index 0. So you will print what is that? Balance of 0. Then you will increment j, j will become 1. You will check the condition. 1 is less than 5. So you will come here, print the next value. You will print the next value from where? J value is 1, so you will print from balance of 1. Then increment J, J will become 2. Check the condition here, 2 less than 5. Come here, print the next value. So you will print from balance of 2 and so on. Okay, it works in the same manner as your input, except instead of scanf, you have a printf. So for input you will put scanf, for output you will put printf. Any questions? No questions? Are you understanding? Can someone reply?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, I'll run the program and show you. Okay, I'll run the program now. So we have, what will happen is we'll take some input. Now I'll not take the same input of these numbers because I will not remember unless you all want to prompt me the values. Okay, so I'll just run and put some 5 values that come to my mind. Okay. So I'm entering the value, see 1, 2, 3, 4. You can put 5.0, and these are the first for loop was used to take the inputs. So these are the inputs that I entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.0, and the next for loop is displaying my values. So this is the for loop that is displaying my values, this for loop here. Okay, and it displays like this. Got it? Yes? Any questions? Okay. If no questions, then we'll proceed. Now, this is how you normally use your arrays for taking input and displaying the values from your array. Okay. There are many more things that can be done with the array. There are many different types of arrays, but I'm not going to go to all that. You will have to manage from your teacher's notes that she had done for C programming. Okay. Next, I'll show you how to pass an array to a function. So last time I'd shown you what are functions. So suppose I don't want to print the values in the main function. I've taken the input in the array, okay, but I don't want to print the values in the main function. I want to take a function, okay. I want to show off that I know functions and I want to print the value of an array in a function. So I will declare one function here, say void display, okay. I know my array is floating points. I will say float. I want to tell my computer that I'm going to use one array here. So I will say something like this, that my variable here will be an array. So I declared my function prototype. So this function prototype tells my computer, my operating system, that I'm going to use one function of the name display, and it will have a floating point array. Okay, a floating point array with the name balance. How the computer knows it's an array? Because I am having here square brackets. Square brackets. You need not mention the size. Okay. Do not mention the size. Just put empty square brackets. And what does this void mean? Can someone tell me? I told you last time why we put void at the this. Why have I put void here? What could be the meaning of void here?
So there's no return type.
That means this function will not be returning any value back to the main function. I'm not doing any work in the function that will return a value back to the main function. If I would put something like this, what it would mean if I to put int here, what it would mean that a function display is what it is doing. It will be sending one integer value back to the main function. But since I'm not putting that, I'm putting something like this, void. That means this function will not be sending any value back to the main function. Okay. So let me declare this, like last time I told you, this function line is the same as this. So I'll just copy it and paste it here. And remove the semicolon. I don't need the semicolon. Okay. Open the bracket, close the bracket, and I told you I'm going to put this exact same lines there. Instead can't hear me? Can you all hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir. Now we can hear
Students,
you.
can you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is the audio breaking in between?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
It
sir.
breaks.
Yes, it breaks. It breaks sometimes.
Okay. Okay, I don't realize that, so I keep on talking. Okay, so I was here. Did you all get this part where I was telling you about the function, about this? Did you all get this part about a function? Students, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Y'all, did you all get that part about a function?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now I was asking you, we have a function prototype that I've already declared, and I've already defined my function. Okay. In my function, I'm going to display these values of the array. What is missing in my program? Can you tell me something important is missing in my program? What is missing? If this
Function
program
call.
has function call, yes, function call. Okay. So what is a function call? That means you're going to call this function from the main program. So I've declared this function here, I've defined it here, okay. But if I don't call this function from here, then it will give me an error. Now, as you can see, I've called a function, but it is giving me an error. Why it is giving me an error?
You
Because
did not pass the array.
yes, because I did not pass the array. I've told my compiler that I'm going to use an array as a parameter, as an input to the function. But here, when I'm calling the function, I'm not given the input. That's why it is showing me in red. If you can see the red. Okay. So I have to put this name of the array inside that. The moment I put it, the error will go. Okay. So remember, when you're passing the array, do not put any square brackets. You cannot put like this. You will get an error. Okay. So do not put, only put the name of the array. So only put the name of the array like a normal variable. The moment you try to tell the computer it's a array, you will get an error. Like you can see here, you get an error. Okay. Just put a name of the array. But in the function prototype, you
Why,
have to
sir?
put, that's the way the C compiler has been built. That's the setting for it. Okay, there's no reason
Oh,
as such. There's no reason. It's designed like that. Okay, so in the function definition, you have to put empty square brackets. In the prototype, you have to put empty square brackets. But when you're calling the function and you're passing an array, do not put an empty square brackets. If you put, you will get an error. Now if I run my program, I will get the same output like the previous. Okay, so I will run this program. Only now the difference is I am showing off that I know functions and I know to pass arrays to functions. Okay, so now in future you can also show off. So I just enter the numbers. So this is my input I'm entering. Once I enter the input, my display function, now this value, the display function is giving these values here. So can you see? I'm getting the same output, but this time I'm using functions. Okay. So I hope you all are noting down what is being told. I told you last time to sit with a notebook. Okay. It's not possible for me to give you all the programs as PDFs and all. So I hope we all are noting down what is being told. I'll try to share these C programs with you all, okay, later, but sometimes I may forget. So please note down what is being told. Okay, any questions before I go to structures now? We are running out of time, okay, and I have to finish structures today. So any questions before I stop with arrays? This is what you should know about arrays according to me. More, if you want to know about arrays, you have to refer to your textbook. Any questions on arrays?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll proceed then. I hope you all are understanding because I'm going a bit fast. Okay, so I hope you all are understanding what is going on. Okay, so I'll start with structures. Okay, now the main disadvantage of arrays is whenever you're studying arrays is you can store similar values. Okay, you can store similar values. So once you declare an array here, see, like for example here I declared one array all the 5 elements of the array have to be of the type floating point. Okay, I cannot store character values in that. Got it? What I'm trying to tell you. So if for example I wanted to store one name, say Sachin, and I wanted to store 4 values, say the scores of Sachin. Okay, say he had scored. Let's talk about famous batsman Sachin Tendulkar. Say I wanted to store his name and the 4 scores that he had made in a match, in 4 matches. But here I cannot store it like that. I cannot store his name because I declared this array as float. So I cannot store characters in that. So that is the main disadvantage of an array. It stores similar values, or you can say the same data type values. So whenever we want to store different type of values, but related values, okay, related values. So for example, what you mean by related? Take the example of a student. When you think of a student, what is associated with a student? Name, roll number, class, marks, maybe address, phone number, something like this. So these are all related values of a student. If you think of a book, what are the items related with a book? Name, author, page number, price, subject, something like that. So related values, when you want to store, you will use a data structure known as structures. Okay, you will use the data structure known as structures. So for example, here, this is how you declare a structure. So this is how you declare one structure. You would use the keyword struct. You will give a name of a structure, any name. This is your name that you are giving. Okay, so here now what we are doing is we are creating our own data type. Int, float, character, double were already inbuilt data types, predefined data types. Now we are defining our own user defined data type. So I'm declaring a data type where I'm saying I want a data type of this type, struct student, and that student I want name, age, and I could have put more things, but because we are running out of time, so I'm just showing you 2. Okay, so I could have put here class, more things, whatever comes to your mind, like address and all. Okay, class is a keyword, so maybe I can't put, I will have to just change this name. Class is a keyword, you cannot use keywords. Okay, so class is a keyword. Maybe Amrita ma'am will be teaching you about that, so you will come to know about it later. Okay, so right now I'll just remove this. These, what you define, related items are known as structure members. Name, age are the structure members of the structure student. So these are your members. Okay, I hope you can see what I'm highlighting. So these, what I'm highlighting, are your structure members, this 2. Result, and whenever we wanted,
So voice is breaking.
what is happening? Ria, what has happened?
So we couldn't
There was
hear
no
you.
audio.
You could not hear which part now?
So last you said that character name, int age, all that.
In
After that we couldn't hear.
which
You marked that with an A on
this
top.
part?
Yeah, yeah.
This part here? This part here? Structure members?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I'll just repeat what I just said. Okay. So these are your structure members, name, age. So these name and age are your structure members of the type structure student. Okay. So whenever you want to initialize these members, you have to make use of something known as a structure variable. Okay. you cannot initialize this directly. So suppose I want to initialize, I want to name as Sachin. I could not go to my main program and say something like this, name equal to Sachin. I could not say this. Okay, this is wrong. This, if I do, is wrong. I cannot initialize directly. So no member of a structure I can initialize directly. I cannot say age equal to, say, I don't know what is Sachin's age, but say 40. I cannot initialize the members of a structure directly. Okay. If you want to initialize the members of a structure directly, you need to make use of a structure variable. Structure variable is declared here. So you can declare any name that comes to your mind as a structure variable. So for example, now in your case, I can just take one student's name. So I just say here, I can see the first name in the chat as Ruban. I can take Ruban. I can say here a variable will be Ruban. Okay. Or Ruban's roll number says, say, I don't know what his roll number says, it is 12. I can declare here that student with the roll number 12 is a variable, and I can initialize here. Then, okay, so once you declare one variable, before I show you how to initialize, there are two ways of declaring variables. One way is like this. So you declare structure variable here between the closing bracket and a semicolon. So you declare structure variable here. Okay. The other way is, remember this. The other way is to declare the structure variable in the main program. So you can declare here, take the name of the structure. The name of the structure is struct student. Use the keyword struct. Struct can give any name of. So if I would tell you to add two numbers, you would have declared as int a, something like this. Okay. So this was your variable, a was your variable, and this was your data type, int. The same way what we are doing here. This is your data type now, struct student. Okay, and S1 like a, and int. Hope you are getting what I am trying to tell. Are you getting? Yes.
Sir, your voice got cut off.
Is the voice getting cut off? Okay. I think this video is getting recorded, so maybe you will have to just go back and look at the video because we are running out of time. Okay. So I'll just try to continue from where we are. I'll try to repeat some things, but repeating everything will be a little difficult. I think it should be getting recorded in the video. Okay. So maybe other than future classes, I will try to repeat some of these things. Okay. So basically what I have just said is to access this members, we need a variable. A variable has to be declared something like this. You mention the name of the structure, struct student, say. Okay, so you say struct student, and then you put the name of your variable. So say it was S1. So suppose, for example, if I would tell you to declare an integer variable, you would have said something like this, int a. Okay, where this was the data type int, and this was your variable name. So similar way, this is like your int struct student, and S1 instead of a we are having S1. So imagine something like that. So this is your data type struct student, and S1 is your variable. Okay, if you think in terms of what you already know. So basically when you declare, there are two ways of declaring a variable. I told you, you could have declared S1 like this, a variable like this, or you could have declared a variable here. You could have declared S1 here. Okay, so since I have declared S1 this manner, I will remove this. You can use any one of the two methods that you like to declare variables. So remember, one way is here, declaring in the main function, and the other way, shorter way, is you just declare here. Okay, could you hear me, everyone? Did you all understand how to declare variables? Okay, so the moment you declare variables, suppose now you have declared a variable, what this means? It means that variable S1 is having these two members, name. Okay, now for name there are 50 locations because there are 50 A character takes 1 byte of memory, so there will be 50 locations here, 50. Okay, and int age. So S1 will have 2 members, name and age. Got it? So here there will be 50 locations like this. You can imagine like this. It's an array, so there will be 50 locations because our declared size is 50. Character takes only 1 byte of memory, so there will be 50. And int takes 2, so this will be 2 bytes of memory. So 50 plus 2 means S1 will be occupying a size of 52. Okay, this is just for general knowledge I'm telling you. If you don't remember, and that is fine. Okay, so basically S1, when I'm referring to S1 now, S1 will be having these 2 members, name and age, because I declared this as members in the structure. Got it? Same way, if I had to declare one more variable, say here S2, name and age. So S3 would have been something like this. What is happening? You could not hear me or something? Did you all get it? What I have just told? Did you all understand? Can someone reply? Yes. Can you hear me?
Sure.
Yes. Yes, Abhishek.
So is there any restriction? So is there any restriction on the variables used?
On the variable field, by that, what you mean? I didn't get you. I didn't get you what you're trying to
Are
say.
there any restrictions on the variable used?
Restrictions in the manner means I didn't get that question. Means how many variables can be declared? Number? What you're trying to ask?
Yes.
So you
The
mean to
number
say
of variables used.
no, I can declare as many as I want here. I can declare to n infinity.
Okay.
There's no
Okay.
restriction. Okay, there's no restriction. Only
Hmm.
you have
Yeah.
to have the patience with, as many as you need in your program actually. So you can keep declaring. There's
Okay.
no number. Okay, yeah. But as long you understood that concept, everyone know that the moment you declare one variable here, each variable will get a separate copy of the members. So how many members you have in the structure, that many members will become part of that variable. Got it? That part you all have understood? Yes? Yes or no?
Yes,
Can
sir.
someone reply? Yes. Okay. So let's
Yeah,
take
sir.
only, just for an example, let's take only one because we are running out of time. So I've declared here one variable S1. It's having 2 members, name and age. Okay. And let's see how to initialize this. So if I want to initialize this, there are many different ways, but I'll just show you one now because we are running out of time. Okay, so you can take input from the user. You can say enter the name because obviously you want the name. So you will say enter the name. Okay, now I told you I cannot use the member name directly. So if I want to use the member name, I make use of the variable. So the variable that I've declared is S1 and I put one dot. So this is known as a dot operator. Whenever you want to access the member, you use one variable dot the member. So the format is use the variable you have declared. Variable is S1 dot the name of the member that you want to initialize. So I will say S1 dot name. Okay. So S1 dot name, and since you are taking an input, you will put this ampersand sign, and since it's character, it's a. Have you understood? You cannot do like this. You cannot do like this. You will get an error because it's a member of a structure. Whenever you're accessing a member of a structure, use a variable name S1, whatever variable you have declared, S1 dot, and then you access the member. So when you take the input, it will get stored here, S1. So this is the memory allocated for S1. It will get stored here, whatever name you enter. So suppose you enter Tom, that name will get stored here. So you will access this name, this Tom, by using S1 dot name. Otherwise you cannot access. You get an error. So if I remove this, I'll show you. If I remove this, you get an error. So you have to put variable name dot the member name. Same way for age. Age is also a member. So if I want to access it, I will say variable name dot member. Member's name is age. Okay. Got it? Have you understood how to take input? The direct way, if you would not,
Yes, sir.
suppose you would be not taking this, suppose you don't want to take input from the keyboard, you want to initialize it directly. Then you could have said something like this, S1 dot name equal to, say, Tom. Okay. So when you do something like this, you get an error. You cannot initialize. So you have to use the string functions. I hope you know what are string functions. So you will have to use a string function like this. Okay. And you have to declare your string header file here. So whenever you want to enter a name and some character, I want to store character values. So I cannot do something like this. Okay, I cannot directly do something like this. I get an error. See, I get an error. So I cannot do this. So you have to use the string function. So what this will do? It will copy this value Tom to this member here. So you will get something like this, Tom. The other way of doing the same thing is take a value from the keyboard. So this is the way you will take a value from the keyboard. This you are doing directly. Using strcpy, you are doing directly. Instead of doing it directly like this, you can take the value from the keyboard. So here you will type the name of the person that you want. That will get stored here. Same thing for your age. So suppose you want age you can enter directly. So you could have said s1.age is say 40. That means 40 will get stored here for age. Okay. So if you don't want to do directly, you take from the input from the keyboard. So this will take input from the keyboard. So I've shown you now both the methods. This is the direct way which I've commented. Okay, this is the direct way of initializing the one of the two methods. The other way is to read the user input from the user from the keyboard. So I would prefer that you all follow this method, but you can use whichever method that you find convenient whenever you are doing your programming. Okay, I won't say anything if you use the direct method or you use the keyboard method. You can use whichever one you find easy. Got it? Any questions? Any questions before I proceed? Okay, please note I'll be just taking this class for a little longer because we started late also. Okay, and so you can. Any questions before I proceed? Have you all understood? Are you all understanding what is being told? How the structures are working?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's proceed then. So next, I'll directly in this same program, I'll show you how to use functions with structures. Okay. So last time in the programs, I've shown you how to pass values to a function. So we are passing normal values like a and b. We were sending integer values a and b. And we were printing those, adding those values in the function and getting the sum. So here in this program, I'll show you how to take values for structure members in the main function Okay, so we are taking that here in the lines that I've highlighted. Then I'm passing the structure variable to a function. So I'm passing the structure variable. You can see here S1 is my structure variable. I'm passing the structure variable to my function display function, and I'm displaying my name and the age that I've taken input in the main function inside this function display. Okay, so you can see here, look at the function prototype. This is my function prototype. The display function, it will not be returning any value, and what I'm passing as the input is a structure variable. If you wanted, you could have kept the same name, or you can change the name. Okay, it does not matter. Remember, I can change the name of the variable. Does not matter. Or if you want, you can keep same if you are getting confused. So let's keep it same. You may get confused, that's why. Okay. So you pass the structure. So when you pass this like this, that means inside the display function, I can use S1. I can use this variable S1 to access this members name and age. Okay, so when I pass like this, see here, I'm displaying my values of name and age. So here I'm calling it as this S1. Here I'm calling it as S. You could have called it S1 also, it is fine. If you call it S also, it is fine. If I would call it R also, it is fine. You would get the answer. Okay, you can change the name here. You need not keep it same. I think you should get used to that idea that you need not have the same names. I'll just keep it as R. So when you pass the value S1, the same S1's values are stored. S1 and R means the same thing. So if suppose you are stored in S1's name Tom and S1's age 40. So here when you are displaying, you will get the name as Tom and you will get the age as 40. Okay. So why I'm passing this variable name? If I would not pass this, what would happen? See, if I would not pass this, what would happen? I would get one error here. I'm not able to access the member without the variable. Like I told you, if I want to access these members, I need a structure variable. If I don't pass the variable, I cannot access the structure member. So I have to pass this variable. So that's why I'm passing here the variable. So this will be my variable. Okay, so now if I run this program, I'll show you what happens. So it says enter name. So say I say Tom and I enter the age as 40. So displaying, when I display, see here, these are the lines that are getting displayed. You're getting the display as name as Tom, age as 40. Okay. So last time I had shown you how to pass normal variables. Now I'm showing you how to pass structure variables. So if I did not want to pass, I just comment out these things now. If I did not want to pass this program like this, say I did not want to pass, then I would have to print these values here itself. I could have printed here in the main function. Okay. So here in this case, here it was S1. So here I was taking input in these lines using scanf. This is scanf taking input for the name and the age. Once I've taken the input, I'm displaying what is present in the members by using these lines here. If I would run the program now, I would have got the same output. But I got like this. Got it? Have you all got it? Is it okay? Have you all understood? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll just do a quick revision before we stop. If you all have understood, I'll open one new. Okay. So, Okay, one more thing that I forgot to tell you before I revise. If you can see here, how has been the structure been declared? Can anyone tell me how has been the structure been declared with respect to the last class that I told you one concept? Can someone recognize and tell me? There are two types of
Global.
variables that I taught you. I taught you two types of variables. So how has the
Global.
structure been declared? Yes. The structure has been declared, if you can see here, the structure has been declared outside the main function and outside any function. It has been declared as a global. The entire structure has been declared as global. Once you declare it as global, I can access it in any function that I want. Okay, so I can access this in any function that I need. That's why I have declared this structure as a global. And in most programming, you will declare it as a global. Okay. Okay, so I think that part you have understood. So we'll just revise here quickly. So suppose I have declared one structure here, say A, B, C. Okay, you can write these things in your book. Okay, what are questions I asked so that you can understand for yourself whether you have understood. So what are the two different ways to declare a variable of a structure? Quickly write on your notebooks. Quickly write on your notebook. Suppose I have a structure like this. Now, I'm getting an error because I'm not writing the entire program. Suppose I have a program like this. What are the two different ways of declaring a structure variable of this example?
I can't hear.
That
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can't hear.
The answer.
So you're not audible.
I'm not audible. Can you hear? Hello, students. Can you hear me?
Now we can.
Okay. Could you all hear my question that I had asked? I'll repeat the question.
No,
Then
sir.
Yeah.
I'll repeat the question. So I've just written one structure here, and I wanted you all to write in your notebooks the two different ways of declaring structure variables. Only write the answer directly. Don't copy this entire thing. Just write the two different ways of declaring structure variables in your notebook. You can give any variable name. You can call the variable as X if you want. Call it as X. Show me that, write in your books the two different ways of declaring X as a structure variable. So I just, if you have done it, the first way is like this, you would have declared like this in the main function, or the other way you would have declared here. Okay, check in your notebooks if you have got the answer. So the two different ways would be, the first way would be here, X would be here, the other way would be here. Now I want to initialize the variable member A to 40. I want to initialize the member to 40, member A to 40. How to do it? Can you type in the chat? Type in the chat otherwise. I want to initialize member A to 40. How to do it? Can you type? Yes. Yes, Abhishek. X dot A equal to 40. Yes, that's correct. If I wanted to initialize member A to 40, I would have said X dot A equal to 40. This is the direct way of doing it. How to do it using scanf? How to do it using scanf? How to initialize A to 40 using, how to take input from the keyboard using scanf? How to initialize A using scanf?
Shut the fuck up. What's a
How to initialize A using scanf? So suppose this is the direct way of initializing A. So if I wanted to initialize using scanf, would have said something like this, scanf. Okay. You can see here, since A is int, you would have said %d, okay, comma, ampersand, use the variable x dot a. So you would have taken the input like this. Okay. Why %d? Because a is of the type integer. Okay. Don't leave space here. Don't leave space. Got it?
Sir,
Yes. Who is it? Yes.
so what would be the forward declaration of function ABC?
Function. What is the proper declaration meaning?
Declaring the function before the int, before the main function.
This. Oh, I didn't get you. This part that I've highlighted.
Yes.
It is the proper declaration. B. Yeah, Germano structure can also have a return type. It can have a return type. So it will be the same way. So suppose you are returning of let's go to this example. So suppose you are returning some value from this function. Suppose you are returning some value from this function, say, okay. Then here you would have said, instead of void, you would have said struct student. Suppose that variable that you are returning was of the type struct student. So if you would return a variable of struct student, here would have said struct student. Then here, while receiving it, the variable that you would receive that value, this R also had to be of the type struct student. Otherwise, you would get an error. Okay. So this R also, right now I'm not showing you, but here this R also would have to be of the type struct student. Okay. Right now it's not declared, so it is showing an error. So then whatever value, and here you would have had to have your return type. Return whatever is your variable that you are returning. So suppose you are returning, say, R. You would have said return this. Now the R, okay, is your variable. So whatever value you would be returning, since R is of the type struct student, you would say return type is struct student, and here you would send it back. R, this R had to be declared here on top, here somewhere, that it is there. Okay. Now here this prototype, as you can see, is giving an error because here I'm saying void and there I'm saying struct student. So there also on top I would have to make it struct student. Okay. That you all can do it later. So any other question? Any other question? So I hope you have understood how to initialize structures and how to initialize arrays. Okay. There's one more important thing that is left, and that is known as nested structures. I'll not run this program and show you, but I'll just show you. Now look here. I'm having two structures here. Okay. Two structures. One structure is address having 3 members. And the second structure is employee having 2 members. Now, can you notice something special in these two structures? Can anyone tell me, is there something special in these two structures? In any one of these two structures? Can anyone notice something?
The struct
Structure
address add.
Yes, correct. The member, you can see this employee is having 2 members. Okay, there are 2 members. But the second member here, what does the second member look like? The second member, add is what now? A variable of struct address. Add, see, just like how here we were declaring struct abcx, no, a variable of this type. Here what I've done, I've declared a variable add of this type of struct address. But only thing is, when I've declared the variable, I've declared it as a member of this structure employee. So whenever you see something like this, This is known as nested structures. Okay, nested. I'll just type here. So if it's not audible, nested structures. So one structure is within the other structure. Okay. Sometimes like this, you need to do it like sometimes like this. So address, for example, address will have three different components, say the city, pin, and the phone number. So you can declare it as another structure. Okay. You need not always do it, but it can be done. So I'm just showing you that it can be done. Okay. So now the only thing is when you are initializing this, you have to be careful. Say, see here in the main program, I've declared one variable of this type, of the type employee. So I've called it as EMP. Okay. Now when I want to access this, I access it directly like this here, EMP dot name. Okay. I say EMP.
Hello.
Who was this? Can't hear me?
Sir, we couldn't hear you.
You could not hear me? Okay, I'll repeat it. Okay, I'll just repeat it. So, like I told you, in nested structures, we are declaring this is the variable of this structure which has been declared as a member here in employee. The add is a variable of the structure address, but it has been declared as a member of employee. Okay. So if I want to initialize this, initialization will be done like this. So for example, I've declared one variable here, EMP, which is a variable of this type, struct employee. So now I want to initialize this part. I want to initialize this part. Okay. So using scanf. So what I will say, EMP dot name. Okay, so I will take scanf for this name. Now I want to initialize the second one. So I will say EMP dot address. Okay, add EMP dot add. Now, if you look at this line, add is a variable of this. So I will use add to access this city, pin, and phone. Got it? Are you getting what I am telling? This is a variable, add is a variable of this type. If you not look at this line, and I had add here, if I had add here, and I would tell you to initialize city, what you would have done, you would said add dot city, or if you had to initialize pin, you would have said add dot pin. If you had to initialize phone, you would have said add dot phone. So instead of declaring it here, I have declared a variable here. Okay, a variable here. Now this variable that I have declared of this structure is a member of this. So when I want to initialize this structure here, I have to take a variable of this structure, add. Now this add is a variable of this, add dot city. Okay, so here you can see emp dot add dot city. Okay, to initialize this city. Otherwise, if I do something like this, it would come as an error for me. I would not be able to do it. So it should be emp dot add dot city. Okay, same way, to access the pin, I say emp dot add dot pin. So here, and similarly for the third member, it will be emp dot add dot phone. Okay, if I run this program, you can see. Okay, I'll just 1 second. Okay, so you have to enter. So I will enter some You can see here. So whenever I am accessing this structure, I am using the member of this structure, because this member here is a variable of this structure. So instead of declaring one more variable, I can always make use of this. So I will say take this variable of this structure emp, that is this dot this. This is a variable of this, so emp dot add dot the member here. Okay, so that is the way you can access nested structures. Now when we are learning our data structure, you will come across something like this. Okay, you will come across something like this. I will show you something. You will see something like this. You can also declare something like this. Okay, something like this, a pointer of this type. Okay, this is known as a pointer. So you can declare a pointer of the same type. So this is also known as nesting of structure, wherein the same, instead of declaring, now you can see here I declared a variable outside. So declaring a variable outside, I could have declared a variable inside, but this is a special type of variable known as a pointer variable. When you are doing data structures, we'll be seeing a lot of something like this, okay. So basically you should, I'm showing this example so you should be aware that we can declare one structure variable as a member of another structure. Okay, so I hope you have understood what I've been trying to tell. So any questions? Yeah.
So why isn't there an emphasis mark before emp.name?
emp.name, yeah, you can put an ampersand. By mistake I must have not put. You can put. Okay, it's not, yeah, I forgot it.
Okay.
So here also I forgot one more ampersand. It's always better to put the ampersand. Sometimes the C Visual Studio takes input sometimes without an ampersand. It's always good to put the ampersand, because otherwise some computers it gives an error, some computers it works. So in this case it works. See, although it was not there, you got the output. I showed you the output, but it's good always to put the ampersand. Okay. Nested structures I just did a little too fast, but the main thing that you should know about nested structure is you can always declare one structure variable as a member of another structure. In that case, something like this is a format to access the members. Okay. So yeah, we'll conclude the lecture. So any questions? Okay. No question. I'll quickly take the attendance. Okay, start. Roll number 2. Sorry, what is it? Akhilesh.
Present, sir.
Okay,
Present,
and
sir.
okay, starting with the 1914 series. Roll number 1,
Present, sir.
2,
Present, sir.
3,
Present, sir.
4. 4, Anjali absent. 5,
Present, sir.
6, 7, 8,
Present, sir.
8, 9, 10,
Present, sir. 10.
11, 12.
Present, sir.
Present, sir, present. 12.
Microphone is not working.
Okay. Just when you're saying present, say your roll number also, okay? Because I can't make. I don't know your voices. 13.
Present, sir. 13.
14.
Present, sir.
Sir, roll number 4.
15.
My
Roll
microphone was
number.
not working at that time.
Okay. Just tell me. Yeah, I don't mind entering your attendance. Just tell me your roll numbers, okay? 15.
So present 15.
16. 16.
Present, sir. 16 present.
17. 18. 19.
18 present, sir.
Present, sir.
Just say, I cannot understand who is saying present. Say your roll number, please.
17
20,
present, sir.
Roll number
20,
20 present, sir.
21,
Sir, 21.
22,
Sir, roll number
22,
6 present.
22 present. 22 present.
23, 23, 24, 25,
24 present, sir.
Sir, 25 present, sir.
26, 27,
27 present, sir.
28.
Hello, sir.
Say number. 28,
No, this is 9. This is 19, sir. I just got disconnected like 2 seconds back.
19, 19 are marked you. 29, 30,
29
Sir,
present.
sir, 8
29
present, sir.
yeah, 18 is present.
Sir, 8.
32,
Present, sir. 32 present.
33,
Present, sir. 33.
34, 35,
35 present.
36, 36, 36, not there. 37,
37 present.
38, 39,
36 present.
38, 39,
38 present.
36 present.
39 present, sir.
38 present.
40, 41,
40 present, sir. 41 present.
42,
42 present, sir.
43, 44,
43 present, sir.
44 present, sir.
45, 46,
25 present, sir.
47, 48,
47 present, sir.
49, 50. Those who have answered attendance can leave. 49, 50,
49 present.
49, okay, 50, 51, 52,
51 present, sir.
Present, sir.
51 present.
52 present, sir.
okay, 53, 54.
53 present, sir.
What about 46?
Present, sir.
54 present.
Present.
46 is present.
56.
56, 55. Umam. 57.
57 present.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
9
Yes.
is present.
9.
So,
I think
9 is
already.
present.
9. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Sir, 29 present.
29 is present.
So,
Yes.
50 present.
50 is present. Yes.
So, 56.
Sir, 54.
56 is present. Yes. 54 is also present.
54.
Yes. 54 present. Okay. So see you all tomorrow for the next lecture.